why the title of this video is Successful Management of Complex Projects. First of all, let's agree on the meaning of the word project. A project is not an intention. Indeed, it has a concrete character with a real purpose which must be operating. A project is not research either. It can include the phase of R&D, but this one must serve only the real and operating purpose. A project is not a planning. Of course, it includes a plan of actions with stakeholders, milestones and deadlines, but this is not enough. A project is not an operation of production either. Although we can rely on known and proven production models, we cannot use them as is for a project. What is a project? A project is above all a response to a need. Therefore, it implies a clear definition of the product or service to be developed, a time objective, i.e. a delivery date, actions to be undertaken, human resources capable of carrying out these actions, a leader to coordinate these actions, a budget taking into account all that I have just mentioned. Therefore, we can say that a project is a set of actions defined in a specific way and following an adequate methodology so as to bridge progressively according to an adaptive mode a reality to come, for which there is no exact equivalent in the present. Many challenges are to be met when launching a project. It is necessary to reorganize the teams and the services to adapt to the load and the technicality of the task. It is necessary to take into account the evolution of technologies by allowing upgrades of know-how via a system of permanent monitoring and anticipation. The specificities and technical constraints inherent to the project content must be managed with the greatest care. They will require the use of reliable experts, often expensive and not very available. It is also necessary to know how to arbitrate among the customer's demands, which are always more and more difficult to satisfy. It is important to integrate the decentralization of responsibilities by setting up an efficient coordination and communication system specific to the project. Finally, the sinews of war. It is necessary to know how to manage the economic constraints which are expressed in terms of cost but also deadlines. How to maximize the project delivery process. First of all, you have to master all the project's processes perfectly. Then it is necessary to implement an efficient piloting. To succeed in this management, it is necessary to excel in the management of people. It is a question of a precise and rationalized management carried out in a supported way and adapted to each situation and problem of the project. The goal of this management style is to leave absolutely no place for approximation, whether during the definition, design or development phase. Nevertheless, beware. Management alone is useless if key resources are missing. The project needs specific, adapted and interdependent skills. If you lack them, the project will fail. Be careful with the budgets and resources allocated to the project. As much as it is absurd to set up organizations disproportionate to the size of projects, the savings that some companies think they are making by cutting back on project teams systematically turn out to be disasters in the end, when costly corrections have to be made at the last minute to avoidable and foreseeable problems. It is necessary to know how to invest 1 to 2% of the cost of the project to save 10 or 20% of it on the hazards. How should the project manager work? The project manager must set the objectives, the strategy, the organization, and the means to be implemented. He/she must coordinate sequential and concomitant actions. She must have perfect control over all the processes, i.e. be able to modify the strategy and resources at any time, whatever the field, if an objective changes or if the established program cannot be respected. She must optimize the allocation of resources to arrive at an operational solution with a controlled cost that fits harmoniously into the overall vision of the project. Also, since the objective of project management is to get things done rather than to do everything oneself, which is rapidly beyond human possibilities, the project manager will have to organize the realization teams for each trade discipline and ensure the good execution of their work by setting up relays, i.e. reliable and rigorous technical project managers or trade referents, who will each manage a team of a trade of which they have the expertise. Risk management for major projects. The larger or more complex a project is, the more the number of stakeholders increases, and the more the task of project management moves away from technical implementation to human relations management. This is where the project manager approach will change. Indeed, it will no longer be a matter of applying one's know-how in managing actions, but of having an intelligence called know-how to get things done. This is not an easy task, as it will require the ability to integrate actors from different fields of expertise in order to combine the different tasks and effectively manage the interfaces between the various stakeholders. It is at the price of this tedious work that the project risks will be identified in time, measured and reduced, thanks to the synergy of the contributors and the conjugation of the multiple competences at the service of the project. The project manager is faced with a real dilemma. She has to manage the project while maintaining at all times the right balance between three often contradictory requirements. 1. The technical content and the performance of the future product or service. 2. The cost of the project and the production and maintenance of the future product or service. 3. The time to market. With equal resources, getting closer to one of the poles means necessarily moving away from the two others. How to practice efficient project management? An efficient project management is never repetitive. It requires the implementation of a specific organization distinct from the company's structure, specifically adapted and temporary, even evolving during the course of the project. The logic of the project being based on the satisfaction of a need, its management must permanently adapt to frequent and often important modifications, although their importance must decrease as the project progresses. Management must also propose solutions that take into account not only cost but also deadlines and technical performance. And like general management systems, which assume that these last 2 points, deadline and performance, are resolved independently and in advance. And finally, it must turn towards the final objective, therefore be essentially looking forward. Who arbitrates and who decides? A complex project requires intelligent arbitrations that can only be carried out by a multidisciplinary team led by a high-level generalist who has received sufficient authority from the top management to make decisions. The project management tools are as much an aid to decision-making as they are a means of communication. These valuable tools allow the protagonists to speak the same language and to focus their efforts in a synergetic way. The three axes of project management. 1. Planning. It consists in establishing a reference to control the project as well as its content, the process to follow to achieve it, and the means to implement. 2. Control. First of all, it is necessary to set up the information systems and the corresponding tools in order to share data between the various participants and ease the control of the progress of the project. The control consists in measuring in each business or discipline the situation of the project at a given time. Compare the situation with the established reference. Predict on the basis of this comparison the situation at the end of the project. Thus, it is necessary to define the actions to bring this forecast in line with the project objectives. This implies, in case where it becomes impossible to respect the initial objectives, to modify them or stop the project. 3. Management of people. It is a question of putting all the participants in the project in the best possible conditions, so that their contribution responses perfectly to the needs of the project, which implies clear definition of responsibilities and their full acceptance by those involved. Identifying conflict areas in order to avoid or remedy them through effective management of latent conflicts. Motivating people so that all their capacities are put at the disposal of the project and that a collaborative intelligence is set up on the basis of a factual and positive communication. In summary, whatever the type of project, methodology, or organization, the logic of project management remains the same. The objective is always precisely defined. We establish the path envisaged to reach it from the point of view of cost, time, human resources. Then we periodically check the real progress of the project. We deduce the forecasted progress, which we compare to the objective. From this comparison, we take the best adapted decisions to the situation. Corrections, additional efforts, even abandonment of the project if the drift is intolerable or irreparable. In conclusion, a complex project of great scope, intertwined and dependent on other projects, can be marvelously executed by multidisciplinary teams, carried out perfectly within the limits of the foreseen hazards, and thus participate in the growth of the company and the fulfillment of the employees. It is possible. It is not a utopia, because it doesn't reproduce models but creates new models. The project is the privileged tool for the change we need. Therefore, whatever the size of the company, the type of organization or institution, decision makers must adopt the project culture in order to capitalize on the present and methodically build a better future, leaving the imponderable as small as possible. Below the video, you will find a link to subscribe to our newsletter and the address of our website to discover all our services. Feel free to share this video and hit thumbs up if you enjoyed it. To not miss the next videos, please subscribe to our channel by clicking on the subscribe button and then on the bell icon. Thank you, and remember, as Thomas Edison said, if we did all the things we are capable of, we would literally astound ourselves.